Episode 5 of The Rings of Power is written by Nicholas Adams, and many people are claiming this to be the best episode of Season 2 so far. And whilst I can't necessarily disagree with that sentiment, it is rather akin to eating some food that is covered in lots of wasps, and your next bite only has one tiny wasp on it, making you claim, well, at least this one isn't as big as the rest. It's not necessarily a good situation, but it is better. And I'd argue that's where we're at with the Rings of Power right now. If it continues on this trajectory, perhaps it can result in something good. But to get there, I strongly believe they need to stop making a critical mistake, and that is inconsistency. It's been littered throughout Season 1 and 2, and even in the best episode so far, it's still very present. To show this, let's take a look at the dwarves, who are, in my opinion, the stronger part of the series. In Episode 4, Celebrimbor made an appeal to Durin, saying he could make the dwarves magic rings to fix their problems, in exchange for the Mithril to make them in the first place. Durin is skeptical and is against the idea. Disa, his partner, however, works hard to convince him that he should share the solution with the king, as it's what the people need. She, in her own words, claims that she and other stone singers can no longer hear the mountain. So from her view, this is essential for her own self-interest and for her fellow dwarves' interests. Episode 5 kicks us off with King Durin putting on the now-made ring. Immediately, he has a surge of action and begins sorting stuff out, knowing exactly where to dig to let light in, allowing them to grow crops again. And as the scene unfolds, we flick to a brief moment where we see Disa and another stone singer who look at each other with what I interpreted as concern. She seemingly confirms this later in the episode by telling Herr Durin she's worried that the use of the ring doesn't feel right and that King Durin needs to stop using the ring, which is a quick shift from her attitude in episode 4. She went from convincing Herr Durin to get the king to use it to now almost nagging him to convince the king to stop using it. And other than the look she shared with another dwarf, we haven't heard why she's had a change of mind. Don't get me wrong, later she does end up in a quiet part of the city and hears a horrible roar, which I'm guessing is the Balrog. But she was already on this anti-ring path before hearing that, and it still wouldn't explain her worried look when the light is being sorted, as the issue with the Balrog is more about digging too deeply, something she and Herr Durin were all for in Season 1, but bizarrely King Durin was against, and now the tables have turned. Is this forced drama? Is it people behind the scenes not having a character sheet to refer to as different writers and directors create these episodes, causing an unconnected and discombobulated mess? It's hard to say for certain, but what is clear is that it makes for a mighty distraction. It's so hard to get invested with a character or care when they seemingly alter opinions and views in the moment without any real reasoning as to why. It's like they all have sieves for brains and forget what values they held in the previous episode. Now, the reality of humanity is that we do change our takes and opinions as time goes on, but it tends not to be so flippant and skin deep as this TV series suggests. Surely, prolonging Disa's character arc of realizing the error of pushing the agenda of using the ring would help us understand her motives more. We could explore how she still can't hear the mountain, and at first how good it all seems when King Durin uses the ring, but then he takes it too far with the abundance of light, and when she finally can hear the mountain again, she understands that it's hurting. The ring helped the king fix their immediate problem, but it's still destructive in its ways, and that long term there will be consequences, and in this case the consequence is a Balrog. As she discovers this for herself and admits her mistakes and takes actions to atone and correct what she had a hand in, we could start to reason and understand her thinking and change of decision as she goes through the thought process. But clearly, that's not what Amazon are after. It's just another episode that in isolation kind of works, but as a series and way of telling a story with characters, it's still staggering along like me at 3 a.m. after a boozy night out. Anyway, thanks for listening. Take care.